Hey Patriots, it's KG here from the Proof Blog. I have a tendency to be long-winded, so I'll try to keep this short and simple, but I make no promises. For the past 3 days, I've been suspended by Facebook for merely daring to report the facts that the mainstream media refuses to report on. I have about 5 days left to serve on my crime for sharing free speech. I cannot go live for the next 90 days, and my blog, which has about 17,000 followers and recently had 2 posts reach over 1 million people, it's been threatened with being unpublished from the social media platform. Over the past several months, we watched cities burned by violent insurgents from Antifa and radical Marxists from Black Lives Matter. While we as human beings can all agree that Black lives do matter, many are coming to recognize something that I pointed out in 2016, and that is that the organization and the slogan are not the same thing, and they don't have the same goals. I've been told that I, as a Black American, have been brainwashed. I've been called a house Negro, a race traitor, a coon, and an Uncle Tom for simply daring to think different. I've been told to retain my blackness. I need to vote black. I need to think black, and I need to act black. For the woke crowd, voting black means voting Democrat. Thinking black means having leftist ideals, and acting black means acting ghetto. And yet, somehow they don't see how racist that thinking is. In 2008, I followed the crowd and voted for Obama. I saw an intelligent, eloquent figure that America could be proud to have as their president. But what I failed to do was to take account of Obama's words and ideology. Upon his election, Obama declared he was going to, quote unquote, fundamentally transform America. And that radical and ridiculous desire set us on a path that we have reached today. A change that's much worse than we could ever realize. But I don't suppose any voter is responsible and endorses every action, word, and policy that from any politician that they helped elect. I do take responsibility for my errors in 2008 and what I set forth in a country that I love. When I entered university, I rediscovered my conservative roots, and I've held firm to them ever since. In 2016, then candidate Donald Trump was probably at the bottom of my list of all 16 candidates that were running for Republican. And while I consider myself a independent constitutional conservative, I registered Republican to affect the party's primaries here in California, since I agreed most with their platform. In spite of its issues, I found within the party a sort of ideological freedom to fully maintain my Christian faith and my conservative upbringing. And in the end, I ended up voting for Evan McMullin as sort of a protest in a state where my electoral votes were going to go to Democratic Party anyway. Well, I cannot vouch for all that he says or tweets. I think Donald Trump has been a fairly effective conservative. My values have not shifted. If anything, they've been solidified in the face of unbelievable left-wing political behavior. From openly supporting communists to refusing to denounce Antifa and mob violence, I have all assured myself that I'll probably never consider even thinking voting for a party with an unstoppable quench to murder the unborn, a party that thrice denied God at their Democratic convention, a party that denies biological and spiritual differences between men and women, and a party that desires to forcibly confiscate all the hard-won earnings of the working man. It's 2020. It's an election year. We've seen Democrats employ untold fallacious maneuvers to unseat Donald Trump as president. We see them try to muddy the waters and make sure he was an unviable candidate for November of this year. But Trump still stands, and despite employing Hollywood's power and mass media and big tech, social elites, professional sports, and even biased sciences, Trump still marches onward. In 2020, we have untold amounts of information at our fingertips, and yet we still believe in more fairy tales, more misinformation, and more rumors than ever before. Physically grown but mentally dwarfed adults cower at the sight of or the sound of differing opinions, making them intentionally ignorant of the other side's ideas and prone to mislabel critique as hate and disagreement as bigotry. Today, conservative men and women sit silent among the angry throngs of extremists, fearful of being mislabeled or canceled for being called sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, bigoted, and racist. If the greater populace can be pushed into silence in the real world, imagine how hard it is for students at left-wing universities if they hold traditional values, or even at large institutions. I was one of those students. Like Democrats in 2008, I never saw Trump as a racist, and I believe his action and statements don't reflect it now. As I alluded to earlier, many labels the left employs are simply to instill fear and to sway potential votes. For this reason, and for the future of America, today I fully, unashamedly, unabashedly, and wholeheartedly have decided to take my talents to the voting poll and endorse Donald Trump as president. I never thought I'd get there, but it's undeniable. So I just want you to hear that, LeBron James, and know that you don't speak for me. God bless you guys, and pray for peace and protection in your families. Peace.